everybody, welcome to episode 21 of Pins and Needles. I'm ever so sorry it's a week late. Those of you that are regular viewers will understand my life has been a little chaotic, but I finally carved out a little bit of time and a very small amount of space. I'm not in my usual spot for recording today, but I did want to catch up with you guys and you just got to do it, haven't you? You just got to record. So welcome back to any of my regulars, and a big hello to new subscribers. I had quite a few again this last couple of weeks, so that's always lovely. As I said, this isn't my usual recording spot, so do forgive the slightly disorganised episode, really. This is a bit seat of my pants today, so you'll have to make some allowances for me. You can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry. I will put all the details down here, and I will include timestamps in the drop-down box. So if you want to skip any sections, please feel free. You don't have to slog through the whole thing if you don't want to. First of all, I want to congratulate absolutely everybody that took part in the newfangled Makealong. I was blown away by the finished object thread. We had 60 entries there, and an enormous array of different crafts. We had knitting, crochet, we had sewing, tablet weaving, pyrography, which might be the science of pies, but I mean the wood burning, and just beautiful finished objects. I was really, really excited, and well done everybody that took part and tried something new. I know not everybody finished what they wanted, but if you started, you know, I still think you win. You've got a new skill. So I used random number generator. Dramatic pause for a beverage. Tea is good. Right, I used random number generator, and the winner of the Tilly and the Buttons Coco dress pattern and this super sweet progress marker by MyCraftyDream goes to post number 53, who is MariaSamira. Well done, Maria. We've met a couple of times, so I'm super thrilled that she won. She lives in London, and cabling was one of her new techniques that she tried, and she knitted a beautiful pink baby dress, the Milo pattern. So well done, Maria. Chuck me a message or I'll message you, and I will get these posted off. The next prize goes to post number 39, who is CraftyStockinette, and that is Arletha from Detroit. Congratulations, Arletha. She knit a hat. It's the first ever hat she knitted for herself and her first ever pom-pom, and it was a really nice hat. So I'm glad that a selfish knit won the next prize. And you win this gorgeous project bag from MyCraftyDream, and I'm also popping in a set of stitch markers as well. So thank you again to Miriam of MyCraftyDream for donating these prizes, and Arletha, get in touch and I can send that out to you. Sorry, I'm balancing everything on the end of the sofa and I don't want to lose it. The next prize, post number 19, which was YarnTaxiDriver, and that is Jen from Connecticut. I don't know if you pronounce the middle C. Anyway, I was particularly thrilled that Jan won this prize. Her entry was her first ever man's jumper, hand knitted. And not only is that a massive achievement in itself, but she also basically made the pattern up herself as she went along. So you absolutely deserve this prize. And you win the lovely zippy knitting bag donated by NellieWellie. Thank you very much, Siobhan, for donating this. So you win the prize of the bag and also more stitch markers from MyCraftyDream. So congratulations, Jan. Again, do send me your details, either Instagram or on Ravelry. And then our last prize was post number 44, and that is, I don't know how you pronounce this, I'm going to have to spell it. It's Linda from Pennsylvania. Anyway, congratulations, Linda. And your Ravelry name is L-M-E-C-O-L-L. Imecoll? Imecoll. I don't know. But anyway, congratulations, Linda. And you win a copy of the Streaming Down the Mountains cowl, which was very kindly donated to us by Gifted Goodies. That's Michelle. So thank you, Michelle, for the prize donation. Well done, Linda from Pennsylvania. So get in touch with me and I will get Michelle to send you that digital download through Ravelry directly. So my first Makealong, I think it was a huge success. So congratulations to all of the prize winners. Much love to NellieWellie, MyCraftyDream and Gifted Goodies for donating the prizes. I will put links to all of their Etsy shops and things in the drop down box below. And you can also find their details in the first post of the Makealong threads in our group on Ravelry. So, wow. I really enjoyed that Makealong. I'm sorry I didn't get my projects as finished as I'd like. Let us not talk about the pyjamas. But anyway, it was a hoot and I hope that you all had fun as well. Moving on to my little update on what I've been up to. And if you follow me on Instagram or if you've caught any of these podcasts before, at the moment, my house is being rewired. And when I say rewired, I basically mean destroyed from the inside out. The inside of my house pretty much looks like the surface of the moon at the moment. You can see behind me, the electricians have been literally gouging trenches out of every single wall in every single room in my whole house. They've had all of the carpets and the floorboards up, so there's furniture that are piled in teetering heaps all over the place, and the mess has been phenomenal. The amount of dust it generates. This is a Victorian house, so a lot of the plaster is black plaster dust. It's got absolutely everywhere. So the reason I am so casual, for which you must forgive me, is because although I've started cleaning, everything is filthy and I'm not risking any of my nice clothes or any of my handmade anythings while there is still black plaster dust around. So I managed to clean. This is the back half of my craft room. My sewing table is behind you over there. And my usual podcasting spot is in the front room in front of the mantelpiece, but there's dust sheets everywhere and the plasterers haven't finished, obviously, filling in the holes yet. So there's buckets of water and chisels and sets of steps all over. It's just, yeah, it looks like a bomb's gone off. But I'm super glad they're here. They're doing a brilliant job. The lads are absolutely fantastic. And it's really nice to be able to get stuff done on the house. We've had some issues. We were getting the plasterers to fill in behind the electricians as they go. And at the same time, they were replastering underneath our bay window at the front of the house. And we knew we had a little bit of water coming in from the seal that had gone on the double glazing. So Dave and I took some ivy off the front of the house, resealed the front windows, at which point the heavens opened and it rained. It was like it was the end of days. It was just torrential. And the plasterers had already plastered underneath that bay on the inside, and you can guess what happened. Turns out the ivy was acting as an umbrella and we had an internal water feature. The water came in 3 separate points and just clean washed all the fresh plaster off the inside of the bay. So I took a deep breath and rang some window fitters, and the long and short of it is it's finished. But honest to God, I had 8 electricians, 4 window fitters, 2 plasterers, Dave and I, Jim the dog, and one day Conrad was home from school because he had an inset day. Another day I had Jocelyn home from school because she was sick. So it was just, there was people everywhere. There were people everywhere. So it's been a bit of a nightmare, but overall, you know, progress is being made. There was a slightly unfortunate incident yesterday. Our Dave and I have a king size bed, absolutely huge. So that was my island of calm and retreat. Every day I made the bed and I put an old blanket on the top of it, and then whatever was happening anywhere else, the dog, the kids, us, we could go sit on the bed and we wouldn't be in anybody's way. And then yesterday I didn't think I was going to have any plasterers in our bedroom, so I thought, right, I'll crack on with the washing, because everything needs washing. All the coats, all the towels, the dust has got everywhere. So I always fold the laundry and put it in piles on my bed, and then when I've finished washing for the day, it all gets put away. And so I put some out on the bed, and I headed in with another load to find the room full of window fitters and plasterers, which wasn't a problem, except that I'd left my clean knickers on the bed. God, I was mortified, absolutely mortified. So I was talking to the window fitters who needed to ask me some questions. I was having a chat with one of the plasterers, who fortunately I know, and he was sort of on his knees, just at eye level with my undercrackers, and I could have died. And it wasn't the nice knickers, you know, it wasn't my lace scanties, it was my Wonder Woman ones, with a big gold W on the front, and my should we say super comfy knickers, the sort of the ones that come up to your armpits. God, so I was sort of quietly folding things, hoping nobody would mention my pants. Oh God. So yeah, that was a bit awkward, I'm not going to lie. You sort of talk about the elephant in the room, you know, and really an elephant would have needed knickers that size as well, the ones I was waving around. Oh. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. So that's why my podcast is a week late. It was supposed to be last weekend, but I'd spent half-term holiday at my mother's to give the electrician some space, and by the time I got home, there just wasn't a prayer. There wasn't electric. So, you know, you just didn't stand a chance. Right, enough blather. Let's move on to pins. Look what I made. So, this is my Collette Monita dress. Now, I made this for the #Moneta party, which was an Instagram sewing thing, organised by Sew Positivity, Rach Wayne, and Sew Abigail. Ooh, links down below. Check the links. And this was the first Moneta dress I've ever made. The fabric is a viscose jersey, and I bought that from Minerva Crafts. The deadline for this was the weekend that I would be getting back from my mother's. So I cut the pattern out here, and if you look at my previous episode, you can see me doing a bit of cutting and pattern modification and tracing and things. And I took all of the things, all of the pattern pieces and all of my favourite tools up to my mum's. And she was kind enough to lend me her sewing machine to sew it up. So there it is. I put her on Demelza the dummy. It's just a bit easier for you to see if it's on her rather than on me. There are I'll put some pictures up on Instagram as well. And I think I put some pictures in the Ravelry group. So if you wanted to have a look at that for some details and things, you can do that. I think probably the easiest thing to do is if I look through the pattern and then I can talk about it, because it's down as a beginner pattern, and I'd agree with that. Yes, it is a beginner pattern, but I did have some issues, all my issues, not the pattern. But I thought because it's such a popular pattern, the chances are that one of you lot will sew this at some point. And if I can save you some mistakes by telling you about mine, then maybe that would be useful. And I do also have some questions that I need to ask you people for a bit of help. So this is the pattern, Collette Monita, and I was aiming for this one with the 3/4 length sleeves. In terms of modifications, let me just check my sewing book. I added, what did I add? I think I added 2 inches to the bodice length, and I added 3 inches to the sleeve length. I'll talk about that a bit later. Sleeves were a bit of an issue. In terms of the bodice length, I've only worn this once to take the photo of it that I used on Instagram as my submission for the Moneta Party prizes. And I'm not sure if I need to add a little bit more length. I do use the hashtag sewing tall on Instagram, and if any of you are taller ladies or sewing for taller ladies, do use that hashtag. So I need to try it on and wear it for the day. I might need an extra ½ inch there. And I added 2 inches to the skirt, which is just right, just hits me sort of middle of the kneecap. So that was great. First thing is I used a ballpoint needle. I didn't have a ballpoint needle for my overlocker, but I did for Mum's sewing machine. So ballpoint needle to sew, and also you need to use a twin needle, so I used a jersey twin needle for that. The pattern only has a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance rather than the normal 5/8 of an inch. And I really struggled with that. I was finding that when I was sewing, the fabric was getting dragged down into the orifice of the foot plate. And I was using a walking foot and I had a ballpoint needle. So it might just be that the fabric was a little bit fine. I'm not sure, but it happened quite a few times. It all got snarled up, and then I had massive nests of bobbin fabric on the back, and there was much cursing. So it might be that the fabric was too fine. It might be that I just wasn't familiar with the machine because I was borrowing Mum's. But do you guys find that? Maybe if you're sewing with Ponte, it wouldn't be such an issue, but with fine jersey, it really was a bit of a pain in the butt. So yeah, let me know if you've got any tips for that. I made a pig's ear of cutting it out. There's lovely cutting out diagrams in the pattern, you know, so that's very well illustrated. The only thing they don't say, and I really think they should, is if you've got a directional print like I have, you need to make sure that you flip one of the bodice pieces over and that you put the sleeves on the right way. I laid everything out according to the layout diagrams, and I had trees the right way on this side, but they were upside down on the back. And both sleeves had upside down trees on, and that would have driven me nuts. So if you do make this with a directional print, make sure it goes in the right direction. And I feel that as this is a beginner pattern, that's something they should have reminded you about. So that was laying it out. In terms of sewing the bodice, again, apart from the issue of the seam allowance, and I'm unsure about the length, that went absolutely fine. I would have liked to line it. There's an option to line the bodice, and you use the same fabric. But because I had to cut the bodice and the sleeves, well, the back bodice and the sleeves out twice, that meant I didn't have enough fabric to line it. So it's not a problem. I'll just do that for the next one. That was all. What else was there? So I'm just flicking through the pattern. I did make notes in my sewing diary, but I thought it's probably easier to just go for it. Oh, right, sleeves. So this pattern comes with sleeveless, short sleeves, which sort of come to here, and what they call 3/4 sleeves, which actually, if you look at the pictures, it just comes down to your elbow. In my head, a 3/4 sleeve comes halfway down your forearm, and that's the length I wanted. So I added several inches to my sleeve piece, and I thought I'd measured it correctly. But when I actually sewed them onto the bodice and tried it on, they did come past my elbow, but not enough. So as you were moving around, you would have ended up with fabric wadded up in the crease of your elbow. So I ended up just chopping them off, and this comes down sort of halfway down your bicep. I didn't want a short cap sleeve. I wanted it to come about there, which is fine. So again, if anyone is sewing tall, you know, you're really going to have to add a lot. I think I added 3 inches to the 3/4 sleeve pattern piece, and it was nowhere near enough. But it, you know, it wasn't a problem. I just chopped a chunk off and I've got short sleeves. That's absolutely fine. Other than that, the bodice goes together very nicely. It's super simple. I did struggle with the neckline. It sits beautifully. It came out all right in the end. But because it's a nice stretchy jersey fabric, it doesn't have a facing. And all you do is turn it over once and twin needle it. It's the first time I'd ever used a twin needle. And I did have a quick search on YouTube for how to twin needle. But my issue was, how do I run 2 spools of thread off my machine? It didn't have a second spool pin. So what I did was I wound more thread onto a second bobbin. So I had obviously the normal bobbin in the machine, and then I had the normal thread spool coming off the top, and then a second bobbin I put on my bobbin winder pin on the top of my machine, and then just ran it as usual and threaded the second needle. With my machine, you put, if you want to actually fill a bobbin, you put it on the bobbin winder spool and you click it to the right, and then when you press the foot pedal, it knows to drive the bobbin winder and not the needle. So I clicked it on to the bobbin winder, but I didn't push it to the right, so that worked absolutely fine. Obviously there's a limit to how much thread you can get on a bobbin up there. It's not as large a capacity as a spool of thread, but it worked fine. I've got my bag of tricks. So this is the twin needle that I bought. It's a Prim branded one. Again, it's a jersey, it's a stretch needle, so it's a ballpoint needle. And I also struggled with this, with the machine eating the fabric and the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. If your allowance is only 3/8 of an inch and your twin needles are, you know, a couple of mil apart, there is not much room for manoeuvre, and I was finding that it was just eating everything. So I managed it, but I had to go super slowly. I had about 84 pins in there, and I'm unsure. I think when I bought the twin needle, I didn't know that you could get, they come in different spaces, so the 2 needles themselves can be closer or further apart. So anyway, that was something I struggled with, but again, I think that was me. So I twin needled around the neckline and around the sleeves and the hem as well. So it's not my finest work, but it looks fine, and one of the reasons I wanted a busy print is that it hides all of these little issues. I did use a walking foot, as I said, which has worked very well on my machine, but not so well on my mum's. It was clanking quite a lot, and again, I don't know what the issue was with that. Quick look through my pattern, see what else was next. Ooh, pockets. I added extra length to the skirt of this, so I decided to lower the pockets by 1 inch. They're inseam pockets. There they are, secret pockets. And the pattern obviously has markings, so you know where to attach the pockets. And so all I did was literally just move them down 1 inch because I'd lengthened everything. And that worked out well. They could even bear to be ½ an inch lower, but that was not a problem. And very quickly into the sewing process, my overlocker needle snapped and I didn't have any spares, so I had to zigzag stitch the whole thing, which was fine, but I do like a tidy inside, so I'll definitely try that for the next one. Right. Last episode, I showed you my clear elastic, the stuff that they recommend for gathering the waistband. And I thought, this doesn't look very strong. And it turns out that the strength isn't a problem. Literally, you are using it to gather the skirt in so that it fits the bodice. And I think it helps add a little bit of stability so that the seams themselves don't stretch out. I did point you in the direction of a tutorial from one of the organisers of the Moneta party. over on her blog. It's listed last episode. I did use that and it's an excellent tutorial. However, I'm not sure why you need to use clear elastic because, oh my God, it was an absolute bear. You measure the elastic to fit the bodice and then you mark the elastic, you halve it and then you quarter it so that you can pin it all together with some accuracy. And then you have to stretch the elastic to meet the next point in the fabric. But you have to stretch it so much that it was really difficult to sew it in. It was, the needle was jumping around on the machine. And again, it could be my familiarity with the machine or it could be the technique. I really don't know. But I did not enjoy that process at all. Really didn't enjoy it. And this might sound stupid, but because it's clear elastic, it's really hard to see. And because I was using a zigzag stitch and it was transparent and it was all within 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, it was an absolute sod, excuse my French, to get that attached. As you can see, it looks absolutely fine, but there is an entire week's worth allowance of expletives stitched into this. And the machine was jumping around and jumping off the clear elastic and clanking and banging. And then inevitably your bobbin thread bleeding well runs out, doesn't it? Anyway, so the question I have for you guys is why bother? Why not just run 2 long lengths of thread, like a long stitch length, and gather it? Just like you do with a sleeve, just gather it up. And then if you need a bit of clear elastic or ribbon as a support for the actual seam, why not just stitch some of that in when you attach it to the skirt? Any suggestions? Let me know, because I would love to make another one of these, but I would love to not use clear elastic. I think that was it. Yes, that was it. Twin needled the hem and that was it. So it is super comfortable. I'm very pleased with how it turns out and I will be wearing it to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So yeah, very much enjoyed it. I had 3 meters of fabric, which was more than enough. As I said, even with my additions for length and the fact that I had to recut several pieces, I still had enough fabric out of 3 meters. So that was really good. I was pleased with that. I don't know who the winners are of the #Moneta party yet. I've been keeping an eye out on Instagram, but I haven't seen any announcements. So, I mean, I don't suppose I won. My photo was a bit rubbish, but it was the best I could do. So yeah, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to wear it. I finished sewing it at my mum's. Conrad took my photo for me, and then I was considering wearing it to drive home, but in the end I didn't. I put it away in my suitcase and put my scruffs back on, which was probably just as well because it's a 2.5 hour drive from where my mum lives in the Midlands back down to South Wales. And it took us 3.5 hours and it rained sideways the entire time and I had to stop 3 times for poor old Joss to be sick in a bucket. So I was sort of being blown, holding a bucket of sick in various, you know, service station car parks. Gosh, it's just, if you've got kids, you know what I mean. There's car journeys that you really would try the patience of a saint. So I'm quite glad that I didn't get rained and thrown up on in my brand new Moneta dress. Anyway, so there you are. So if anyone has any tips or tricks for sewing with clear elastic, or if anyone could just write me a note to say that I may be excused that technique in the future, I'd be very grateful indeed. Right, next up is needles, my knitting bit. I do have a half-finished object to show you in my Mrs. Brown's bags. Here we are. Let me get this the right way around. There we go. So these are my dad's Christmas socks. I always start knitting for Christmas in January because a lot of the people in my life have enormous feet. So I've done one sock and I am about halfway through the foot on the second one. I'm knitting these 2.25mm on my Addy lace needles, and the Opal yarn is gorgeous. I do like Opal. There it is, isn't it lovely? And this is Opal yarn. It's Der Keline Prinz, the little prince. I'm never sure which is the colourway and which is the dye lot because it's in German. I think the colourway, I think Farbe means colourway, 7765. And you see? And the contrast heel cuffs and toe is a ball of Regia 4-faded. Lost the ball band, no idea, it's grey. This is the ball of yarn that will never dye. Honest to God. I've got the toe to do in it, and then I think I can mark it as all used up in my Ravelry stash, but it never ends. So that is, these socks are the only thing I've been knitting on for the last 2 weeks. When I was packing to go to my mum's, I took obviously my Moneta and the things I needed to make that, and I took these vanilla socks, and that's all I've had the chance to make. Crafting time has been in short supply with the all the work going on in the house, and I have had the mental capacity of a teaspoon on top of that, so really vanilla socks is all I could manage. But I must confess I'm getting a bit bored of them now. I want them done. It is literally the only thing I've knit, and I've sealed up. I packed most of the house up into plastic bags. My yarn stash lives in big space bags anyway, but all of my other crafty bits and pieces have been sealed up in bin liners and plastic bags to keep the dust off it. So although I am aching to cast something else on, I don't want to break the seal on the bags until I've done a bit more tidying up. So yeah, I've been knitting away on my socks. I do need another cast on, which just leads me beautifully into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I need a travel project and something that's easy to work on if I'm sitting around chatting. So I know what I'm going to be casting on. I'm going to cast on a hitchhiker pattern, that's by Martina Bain, and I'm going to be using some beautiful yarn dyed by Owl About Yarn. That was my payment for helping her out at Wonderwall last year. It's a fingering weight sparkle yarn, and it's mostly black. If you undo the loop, most of it's black, and then 1/3 of it is rainbow colours, just like that. And I think that that's going to knit, because of the way you knit the shawl in this sort of direction, you don't go backwards and forwards, you sort of do point to point. I think that's going to look stunning. And I saw that on the Little Yellow Uke podcast that Zena was also knitting a hitchhiker in a similar looking yarn, and it looked like fireworks. So I'm desperate to cast that on. I might do that tomorrow, and just do a few rows, get me into the swing of it, so that when I'm at the festival, it doesn't take much brain. So yeah, that sock is my only project at the moment. I do want to cast on something else, and also my hands are really tired at the moment. I'm doing so much cleaning and squeezing out of rags and heaving rubble buckets of stuff into skips that actually the muscles in my hands are quite tired. So I fancy casting on something in a thicker yarn. So I might also bust out some DK yarn and knit myself the Angelus Novus cardigan, the pattern for which was a gift from a lovely viewer. Yeah, get a few more things on the go. Right. Edinburgh Yarn Festival. Oh my God, I can't wait. Today is Saturday. I don't even know what the date is. It doesn't matter. But the point is, we leave on Thursday next week. Jenny is coming to my house on the Wednesday night to stay over because we're flying from Cardiff Airport, which is only 10 minutes from me. So we're catching the 8:30 Sparrow Fart flight from Cardiff to Edinburgh on the Thursday, which is actually my birthday. So that's super fun. So we're going away on my birthday day, and we're there for the whole weekend, and we're heading back home Sunday late afternoon, I think. So we would generally hugely excited to be going. We've both been working really hard and we totally deserve a few days of fun together. So we were really looking forward to the festival. It will be our first time there. And because we have a free day at the start and the end of the festival, we get to see a little bit of Edinburgh as well. And I've never been. So I'd like to go and see the castle as well. And I think Jenny said that the portrait gallery is well worth a visit. But if anyone can suggest places that we could go, we need somewhere for the best afternoon tea ever. We're basically planning on eating cake all the way around the city. So we need a recommendation for that. And if anyone knows of any nice restaurants, not expensive because my money needs to be saved for the yarn. But yeah, if you have any recommendations, restaurants, pubs, anything like that, I'd absolutely love to hear them. So that was going to be an amazingly fun trip as it is. What makes it extra super special is the Blacker Podcast Lounge. Now, Blacker Yarns, I'll include links to their website and to their Ravelry group down below, are sponsoring the Podcast Lounge, which is being co-hosted and organised by Louise Scully of the Knit British audio podcast. And there are something like 40 podcasters that will be attending. They're doing some meetups both on the Friday and the Saturday. And full details of the Podcaster Lounge itinerary of events and things can be found on the Edinburgh Yarn Festival website. So do go and have a look. Check down below for the links. Excuse me. So if you check out episode 77 of the Knit British podcast, so not the most recent but the one before, she talks about it in some more detail and also gives you a sample of who will be attending, including me and Jenny. And look, this is my official podcaster's lanyard. It's got my name on it. It's got my podcast name on it. It's got a little sheep. How cool is that? And as I said, sponsored by the super fancy Blacker Yarns. So there will be an opportunity for anyone that's interested to come along to the Podcaster Lounge meetup and meet any of us, have a chat, say hello, show us your knitty things. So if anyone is going, do come along. I'm not sure if Jenny and I will be there on the Friday and the Saturday, but definitely on the Friday. And there's also a theme of let's make a podcast. So if any of you are tempted by making your own podcast, either audio or on YouTube, at 3 p.m. Each day there's going to be a little challenge. So you can come along and there's question and answers sessions you can take part in for any subject you like. You know, what technology do you use? Tips and tricks on getting started, what editing software, anything like that. So you can come along and join in on that. And then if you're brave enough, you can take part in a little challenge where you head out into the Edinburgh Yarn Festival itself and just do a short snippet of recording. They've arranged for some stall holders to be available for a quick interview, or you could just wander around and narrate what you're looking at. You could find your friends if you come in a group and get them to show you what they've bought. Anything like that. It's just a little snippet just to get you going. There are some podcasters that are volunteering to help with that, and I will be helping out with that on the Friday, again 3 p.m. Yeah, so if you're interested, that would be really fun. As I said, check out the Edinburgh Yarn Festival website for all of the details. As I mentioned, the Podcast Lounge is sponsored by Blacker Yarns, and they've been running the hashtag BlackerPodCal. So it was just a knit along for anyone to knit anything they liked out of any Blacker yarn they wanted. And if you take your finished object along to their stand, you get a discount on some purchases. And they are also having a meetup on the Saturday in the Podcaster Lounge. The time is still to be arranged. So if you've been involved in that knit along, again, check the website and go along and meet some of your people. They do also have a Blacker Yarns Ravelry group, and again I'll leave links to that down below. So yeah, I've only got a couple of sleeps left until we head off, and I need to make a plan of attack. the list of vendors is wonderful. I will definitely be going to find Midwinter Yarns and Phileas Yarns. Hi Sylvie. And I want to go and see Grace of Beyond Measure. So there's some people I definitely want to go and say hello to, and I need to plan my purchases. I need some blue man-friendly sock yarn for Dave's Christmas socks. I need some more pins. Grace, if you're watching, make me buy pins when I come and see you. And Kate Davis Designs is going to be there, and I love Kate Davis Designs. Her books are things of beauty in themselves, so I might treat myself to a book. So yes, I need to get my knitting plans sorted. I need to get my purchase plans sorted, and yeah, there we go. So I will make sure that I put up on Instagram, you know, on the days themselves, where we're going to be and what we're up to. So if you want to come and say hello, do come and find me. I'll be wearing my lanyard, and it would be absolutely fabulous if someone said hello to me. Yeah, just come and grab us in the marketplace and say hi, and we can say, it's you. So I think that should be really good fun. I'm very much looking forward to it. Right, my last section. I haven't had this for a while, but my Two's Company section. Just to pad out this episode a bit, because I've only really got 2 things to show you. I have been managing to find some new podcasts and things on YouTube, and so I wanted to pass those on to you. First of all, for my knitting one, do you already watch The Grocery Girls? Tracy, they're up in Canada. It's Tracy and, oh my God, who's the other sister from The Grocery Girls? Jodie. Oh, goodness me. Tracy and Jodie of Mrs. Brown's Bags. They do a brilliant knitting podcast on YouTube. But Craftsy, the crafting website, has its own YouTube channel, and they have recently filmed a series with the Grocery Girls called Off Our Needles. It's a 20-minute episode. It's got the same fun feel as the normal Grocery Girls podcast, but just a little bit of a twist. They do some interviews and a few little techniques and things like that. Their first episode was released today, and it's already had hundreds of watches, so do go and find that. It's just the Craftsy YouTube channel. I think their podcast is coming out once a week for 7 weeks, but there's lots of other interesting things. There's a man who does a nice cake podcast. This isn't very coherent. Anyway, Craftsy YouTube channel, go and have a look. And then I've got 2 sewing podcasts. The first of which is called Kittenish Behviour, and she's a British sewer, and she's tons of fun, really nice, you know, quality video recording, and I've only watched 1 or 2 episodes of hers, but she seems tons of fun, and she's recently went to the Knitting and Stitching show down in London, so beautiful fabric haul video for you to have a look at. That's I'd definitely go and have a look at that. And then the last one is the YouTube channel of Lauren Guthrie. Now, any of you that have watched The Great British Sewing Bee will recognise Lauren. I think she was in one of the first 1 or 2 series. She's a nice Scottish lady. She has blonde curly hair. She's the Scottish lady who used to like running. Well, I'm sure she does still like running. Anyway, the point is that's who she is. And she has a bricks and mortar sewing shop in Moseley in Birmingham called Guthrie Garney, and she also has a website which I'll leave a link to down below. Some beautiful fabrics, sells lots of indie patterns as well. But yeah, she has a nice YouTube channel. She always sort of shows you what's in the shop and what she's been making, but what I particularly enjoyed is that she took part in Kids Clothes Week, which has now finished. She has a baby who is under a year old, so she'd sort of made 3 lovely little baby items for her daughter Sophia, and she did some nice embroidery on them and things like that. So if you like British sewists, if you like The Great British Sewing Bee, check out Lauren Guthrie on YouTube as well. Well, that's your lot. I'm all talked out. I'm sorry I'm late. Thank you for sticking with me against all of the odds and in my slightly disastrous house. I'm hopeful that by the time I podcast again in 2 weeks, I will be back in front of my normal mantelpiece, which will have been beautifully painted by my painters and decorators, and I'll be full of news about the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up, click subscribe, and yeah, do follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up with me on a daily basis. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.